Hello everyone. Today I'm just going to demonstrate something very simple in Unity, which is the beginning of scripting. If you look here, I have created a little environment, and since we haven't done a lot of environment yet in the videos, I'm not going to show you how to do this. This is just for demonstration's sake so we can get to the scripting. If you've seen my other videos, if you followed the other videos so far, you should know how to at least make this square. And as you can see, these guys have textures on them, but really they're just simple objects, well, except for this guy. So there's a sphere here, there's a cylinder here, there's a capsule. You can create all this stuff if you'd like. So if you don't have a Unity project up, go ahead and bring one up and just create a couple simple objects. And we're going to use the main camera as well. So do that now. Once you've done that, what we're going to do is use an editor on this. So if I click on my guy right here, you will see here a character animation changer. What I did to get to that was I just created a component, and I just did a new script, and then I created a name for it. So I'm going to call it man. Now the script I created was a little bit more advanced than what you're going to want to do in your first time out, but for you, just go ahead and do a create and add. And when you get to that man, you're going to want to open it. So there's two ways to open. There used to be two ways to open it: Mono Develop or Visual Studio. It looks like Unity is going to fully phase out Mono Develop, so I don't think it's worth doing that anymore, even though it was a very nice product at the time. So what we're going to do is do this in Visual Studio. Now, if you double click, like if I double click on the script, and by the way, this script should also be under the actual object it's in. So I have a Unity mask man, and then I have a script section, and it has a character animation chamber. Once we save it, it will go there. But you should be able to find it in two places. So the easier of the two places is just to click on the man and find it. Now to actually work on that, you're going to want to double click on the file name here. If you double click on it and you get the notepad up, what you want to do is actually set your scripting editor. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to Edit, Preferences, and then there's an external script editor. What you probably have here is open by file extension. If it's not doing that, you want to switch it to whatever Visual Studio. The community one works the best, so go ahead and grab that if you can. And once you're done, just exit out of this, go back in, you should be able to double click this. So I'm going to double click man here right away, and mine's going to pop up in the wrong window or in my wrong monitor, so let me grab it over. And you're going to see two things when you start up: a start and an update. Start is exactly what you think it means. As soon as you hit this guy gets into the screen, it's going to do this, and it's going to do this once. And it says before the first frame update. So before the thing even plays, it's going to run this. Now, if you enter something later on in the game, it's not going to enter this in the beginning. It's going to do it when you bring this piece in. Then there's the update, which does it every frame, or at least it tries to do it every frame. So, and that's why it's called update. So as your game's running, it'll continually to do this. So in other words, if you're listening to hit the space bar, let's say, to make your guy jump, that would go in here, because you're going to be trying to constantly listen for that space bar, so your guy doesn't run into or fall over like a log or something like that. So those are the two pieces. Now you can keep working in this, but what I want to do is I want to bring up my character animation changer already. And as you'll see, it's a little bit more advanced. In the beginning, usually in the start, you just kind of set stuff up. So in other words, as you can see, previous state equals current state. What you're trying to do is you're going to take things, establish them, and run them once to kind of essentially instantiate them. Now, some of you are learning C# along with this, so I'm not going to go too much into this, but private just means that only this file can use it. And public, as you can see here, means that anything can really call on it. So that's not the important part. What we're going to do here is we're going to do two pieces. We're going to do a debug log here. And as you can see, I have it right down here. So when I click right on the piece, it will happen. And I'm going to, but what I want to do is I want to put this in two places. So debug, you have to do this word for word, and it is case sensitive, so the big D and the big L should be true, and always end this with a semicolon. So we're going to do debug log, and you clicked right, but in this case, we're going to just say, you created me, meaning the man. So that just means that the man has been created, which is a very useful tool because most of the time that we use a statement like this is to actually debug. What the debug log actually does, if we shrink this down, is it will write to this console. As you can see, I have a lot. I have a lot of stuff that's no longer used anymore because I brought this up from an old Unity project. So it's giving me warnings already, but when we play it, it's going to allow it. And the reason why it's going to allow it is these are all warnings. As you can see, ignoring. They are not errors. When it's an error, we're in trouble. So I'm going to let this play, and we'll see where it goes. I think I'm pretty confident it's going to. Although you probably don't want to hear that. So let's go ahead and keep going with this. So let's go back to the actual write-up. So what we want to do is see you created me once to make sure that we know that this guy's been created. We only need to see it once because only one thing is getting created, and but if something goes wrong and our game crashes or something isn't working right as it's running, and we don't see that you created me, then we know that there was a mistake, and so that debug log actually helps us debug. And the second one is just going to be during the update. And as you can see, it's buried into a key down system. Again, don't worry about the key downs yet. If you want to copy it, sure, fine, go ahead. But the key down, what that just says is if I use the right arrow button on my keyboard, then it's going to do these two things. It's going to go into these parentheses, and these parentheses are important. In fact, let me go back to the man just to simplify it. This void update, everything that happens every update has to be within these curly brackets. There's no exception. If it's outside those curly brackets, it is not going to execute during the update phase. Likewise for the start, it's got to be all within there. And for what we're going to call these, let's call them methods. All methods have to have those curly brackets around them. So in other words, whenever you write a method, it's going to have some identifier here, the actual name, the input, which in this case we have none, and then these curly brackets right after it. At this point, not a big deal because these have all been created for us, but if you do an if statement like I did here, it's looking for that right arrow press, and then it's going to do these two pieces. So it's going to do a little animation, and it's also going to give me a debug log. Okay, so let's give this a quick run. And make sure that you have these buttons on, just so we can see everything. So the first thing you're going to notice is that we're going to be in reverse because the camera was actually behind what we were looking at. The camera was not in the same place as our viewport. And you should see right away, and hit escape. I have a little camera controller. You guys probably don't, but I need to get out of here. You'll see here that you created me. The escape allowed me to get out of that camera controller a little bit. That was at the start, and as you can see, it only happened once. Now, go ahead and keep looking at this, and I'm going to hit the right button, and it says you clicked right. Now, I'm going to keep spamming the right button, and as you will see, I have not gotten extra rights down here. Let me escape out of this again. Because what it's doing is it's collapsing all those rights. When I was spamming my right button, it was actually saying you have this 13 times, which I appreciate. I don't want to see that 13 times. I guess it wouldn't be bad for this piece, but it's kind of nice that it is not in there. And that's it. So now, for those of you who kind of played along, you might not be able to get the animator, but in fact, I would not suggest that putting the debug log in the update without an if statement, because it's just going to, if it's going at 60 frames per second, you're going to get 60 of those warnings per second. It's just going to flood you up, and that's not a good thing. So go ahead and give it a try. Put in the start. If you want to do something like that, if you're experienced enough that you know how to do this, go for it. If not, we'll show you later on.